Well, hey there, Frumfies. I'm still a little congested from being sick, so excuse my voice, but I made a build because I'm Saint Riot, and I play Elden Ring, and I make builds in Elden Ring, and then I invade other people with the builds I made in Elden Ring, and then I show you those invasions. That's the whole premise. That's what we do here. This is one of my mean builds, kinda. You know? It started off as just like, everybody knows the cold infusion is really good as like a low level, or lower level, I guess, quality infusion. And I just thought, what if I just really took that to like its natural endpoint, and I made a strength dex int build, 20-20-20, or close to it. And then I cold infused all my weapons. They would gain intelligence scaling, but they would get to keep what dex or strength scaling they had. It might be a little worse, but they would get to keep some of it. And so, here we are. That's the build I made. Made this build long time ago. Totally forgot about it. Played the game a million times since then. Totally forgot this build. Wandered across this build the other day and was like, what in the hell was I doing with this thing? Right? And so I went to the DLC, I got my armor, and I got my milady, and this thing, cold infused, is pretty fucking dangerous. Pardon my language. You know, it procs frostbite pretty quick. And that's cool and pretty good. But then I was in this situation where sometimes you're fighting these like level 200 phantoms or rune-arced hosts, and it feels like the damage isn't great because, you know, you're not spec'd out for total damage. And so I'm thinking about this build, and I'm like, well, how would you be spec'd out for total damage on an insane build like this? And then I was like, somber weapons, obviously. So the gimmick sort of became proc frostbite. Once frostbite's proc, if you want to go total damage, you can just swap over to one of your millions of intelligence-based somber weapons, and now you get to do real damage on top of, you know, like having this weird statted build. I've talked about this a million times, about how Elden Ring is a game that will reward you for, you know, people complain about quality builds not being very good in Elden Ring, and I'm like, if you give a quality build 15 faith, you know, this game will reward you for that. It's just the quality infusion that's not great, but it gives you so many options that's kind of the point, and that's kind of fair. Jack of all trades, master of none, you know. And this is kind of the int-based logical conclusion of that, where you get to play with all these somber weapons, and they're all going to do pretty decent damage. As I said, you know, the game will reward you for making a quality build and giving it, you know, 20 faith or 20 intelligence, whatever. You get a lot of stuff to play with, and this is the sort of logical conclusion of that. Also, worth noting, you know, for those who maybe don't know, all the weapons are upgraded to plus 17 for the purposes of matchmaking online, except the somber weapons. Each upgrade of a somber weapon counts as 2.5. It always rounds down for matchmaking, so if you end up on a half, it's going to round down. So plus 17 weapons, somber are going to be plus 7. And, you know, we're level 80. So, you know, we're in that end game range, but not fully end game. I would argue, you know, I don't think I have to argue it. I'm not some debate jerk who's, you know, I'm here to debunk, false, information or whatever. I don't know, all the normal stupid stuff you hear on YouTube. No, what the fuck was I talking about? I'm sorry. My head is still just medicine. It's just Dayquil up there right now. Um, I would argue, is what I was gonna say, that like meta level is actually like end game level for Elden Ring. 125 to 150 is like, I think that's most people's like that's where they're at when they're beating the game for the first time. And then what the DLC will do to that level range, you know, that's not even in game no more. I would now maybe 200 is in game. But yeah, level 80, kind of like a nice mid level range. Not mid as in, you know, not great. Mid as in it's middle of the game. It's a good spot. I like it a lot. The reason being, it starts to feel like you start to do damage as an invader at level 80. You know, at level 20 or 30, you can be doing some pretty good damage. And then for whatever reason, around level 60, it just feels like you can't hurt anybody anymore. And then at level 80, it picks back up and it starts to feel like you're doing damage. So look at all these weapons I'm playing with. Now I know, Milady, I love it. You're just going to have to deal with that. It's always going to be there. But, yeah, these fellas, I had already invaded them once, and they tried this same thing, and it did not go well. And now they're going to try it again. So I'm letting them get all set up, and they're using the Mimic Veil so they can all hide, or whatever. And I'm just going to go in here with the Stormhawk Axe, and or the Executioner's Axe, I think it's called, and then I'm gonna do the Stormcaller, and yeah, it's cold infused. It's gonna proc Frostbite. It's gonna do a lot of damage. I love these scenarios where they think they're getting one over on you. You know, like they're like, all right, we got him right where we want him now. It's just always funny to me. I don't even know how he managed to fall down like that. But it's funny. I have been playing Final Fantasy Tactics on stream recently, and just as an aside, like the main villain of Final Fantasy Tactics, his name is Folmarv or Formov, depending on which version of the game you're playing. But I always name my kinda sweaty, like kinda try hard builds. I always name them after the antagonists of Final Fantasy Tactics. And so I named this guy Formov, so I felt like, you know, he's got big shoes to fill. You know, he's like the King Dickhead in Final Fantasy Tactics. And like, you know, that's saying something. Final Fantasy Tactics is full of dickheads. So to be the King Dickhead in that game is, you know, that's an achievement. And so I knew that this build was going to be kind of like, you know, potentially like mean level 80 build, but it's fine. You know, at this point, everyone gets the invasion experience they deserve, and that includes the invaders. we're all suffering together, just you know, but opposed to one another, which is, you know, kind of funny. But it is a fun build. It lets me do all the stuff that I like to do. I get to play around with a bunch of different weapons. I get to main one of my favorite weapons, which is Milady. Before the DLC came out, this was another straight sword and shield build, which I guess technically it still is kind of Milady. But I two-hand Milady a lot, unless I'm going for a parry, to make use of that two-hand talisman. And also it's just kind of fun, and you also have the deflecting tier in the Wondrous Physic for that cool Sekiro deflection gameplay. Love that. Just everything about this build I am into. It's got all my favorite stuff. I've got a great sword. I was gonna have colossal swords on it because I love those, but the weight restriction, I would be fat rolling, you know, swapping over to one of those, and that was not something I was willing to deal with. I actually threw Erdtree Favor +1 on this build just so that I could swap to whatever I wanted to, great swords and, you know, stuff like that. You might have seen the axe was causing me to be overweight, and I'm not sure if I have to unequip the bow if I'm going to equip the axe, I think. Or, alternatively, the Erdtree Favor +1 fixed that, and I don't remember. But, you know, basically any weapon except for that Great Axe, I can swap to freely and not have to worry about if I'm going to be fat rolling or not. And then I've also got the Bone Bow with the poison arrows, and that thing is fantastic. Especially for the more like a 3v1 scenario, or the super passive 2v1s. It's really nice to have that. But I've got all kinds of weapons that maybe I haven't got a chance to play with a whole lot. Like Health and Steeple. I never played with it a whole lot because it always just kind of made me sad. Because I loved the Onyx Blade in Dark Souls 3, and that's like, it's one of the only weapons it was better in the Souls games. Like, the Onyx Blade is just better than the Health and Steeple, unfortunately. Which is kind of sad, but, you know. The Death Ritual Spear, I've got that. I've got the new Spirit Glaive from the DLC. I've also got the Spirit Curved Sword. That thing is short. It is super short, but I've got it on the build. Oh, the Carrion Knight Sword. Love that thing. And then I've got a bunch of regular weapons that are all frost infused, with a bunch of the new Ashes of War. The Deathrite Bird Ash of War that is typically on Death's Poker. I have that on a Claymore, as well as the other new Ash of War. I can't... Oh, the M. Bison Psycho Crusher that you get from Gaius. I've also got that on Curved Greatsword, dismounted. So I got all kinds of stuff to play with. Like, you know, in these invasions, obviously, like, I default to Milady a lot, because that's just, like, my spirit weapon. It was fashioned from my soul in a different universe. And then I found it on the day my mentor died, beside his grave, placed there by a time-traveling Saint Riot from the bad future. Something like that. Because, you know, this weapon was made for me. This is mine. The Milady. And I love it. So, you know, yeah. Do I default to it a lot? Yeah. You know, I'm not going to apologize for it, is what I'm saying. But this build's a lot of fun. It can do a bunch of damage with the Frostbite proc right off the bat, and then after that it can do even more damage, which is, you know, always good for the annoying invasions that you get. But what I find happens a lot is when you make one of these builds that is mean or potentially very mean, you oftentimes don't end up needing the mean stuff, because the decent stuff carries you so hard. People might ask, why not Death Poker on this build? And honestly, it kind of is the reverse. I know it seems like it would fit on this build really well, but it's kind of the reverse of what we need. It is a somber weapon that deals Frostbite buildup, and like, we don't need that, right? We need somber weapons that just do damage. And also I have another build that heavily uses the Death's Poker, and so it kind of felt like, you know. Oh, that's another one I have on this build, the Wing of Estelle. That thing it's really good, and it's also annoying. Every time I fight somebody who's using it, I hate them. And so, it's really, really good. You won't see me use it a lot. I'll use it against, like, kind of annoying passive 2v1s and stuff like that. But, it's, for the most part, not something that I use a lot, because that laser is just too good. It occurs to me, it was kind of the precursor to the Smith script weapons that showed up in the DLC, where you press heavy attack and you throw something. It was kind of the precursor to those. It's good. It's maybe too good, and because it's too good, it annoys me. And since it annoys me, I don't play with it very often. But I will say that, you know, when I'm fighting someone and I pull that thing out, it's very satisfying to pull that thing out against the people that I do use it against. Also, if I've got From Software on the phone, can we please get Death Ritual Spear's heavy attacks buffed a little bit? They should definitely be faster than this. I don't know why they feel so slow. It feels like everything got buffed and they somehow didn't in terms of heavy attack speed. Maybe other spears didn't deserve to have their heavy attacks sped up, but the Partisan and the Deathrite spear are not among those. Speed those up, please, and thank you. Also, I love you, baby. Oh, Starline Sword. That's one we've got on the build. I'm very excited. I'm going to the Game Awards as a joke. Last year, Dang It JM went to the Game Awards. And JM sat there. I don't know. Okay, look, I don't know why they went to the Game Awards, but I jokingly said that JM was there hoping that From would show off a new project, and I kept saying they're not going to show anything off this year. And then they didn't show anything off. And so then as a joke I said I'm going to go next year, and they're going to show off Bloodborne 2 when I go to the Game Awards next year. And it was just a joke. And then I have committed to the bit, and so now I have plane tickets and a hotel room. So God, please, From Software, show us something new at the Game Awards. Please and thank you. Your humble servant, Saint J Riot. The J stands for Big Jerry. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you dug it. Hope you enjoyed the invasions. And it's a fun build. I'll see you guys next time. Till then, later, y'all.